Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet. It's time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea and sit back, relax, so we can chat about what is happening up in the stars above for the weekend. It's Friday, and that means that we have several days worth of information to walk through today. And I just want to remind all of you that on Monday, I will not be on air as my brother and sister in law arrive in town Sunday. And we have plans on Monday to head out to the San Juan Islands. So Janet will be spending most of the weekend on ferry, off ferry, on ferry, off ferry, which I love going on the ferry. So it's no big deal. Uh, Today, we have quite a bit to talk about, especially because I won't be there on Monday. I want to make sure that we are aware, or you are all aware, of what the transits will be for this next few days. So today we'll start with Venus in Taurus, who I just noticed as I opened up the chart for the day had moved into Taurus already. So she's already sitting at the 0 degrees, some minutes of Taurus energy. Now, Saturday is a kind of blank day, nothing big happening there. Then we get to Sunday, and Mercury moves into the sign of Cancer. And then on Monday, the 9th, Jupiter moves into the sign of Cancer. So we have big moves. Planets are dancing all over the place, right? So this is sort of this never-ending cycle of planets dancing from one sign to the next. And it's not always happened that they change all at the same time, right? But right now they seem to be like boom, 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 changing one right after the other. And on top of these inner planets, Mercury and Venus changing signs along with Jupiter, later next week we have a node, or later in, next Friday, we have a node shift in human design, which we'll talk about next week. And as well, right after that, Mars moving into Virgo. So June was always going to be a month where there was a lot of planetary movement, particularly with the inner planets. So that means that we're in this dance, this waltz, if you will. Actually, it feels more like a Roomba or something with these planets moving back and forth through these different signs. And of course, what that does is also change up the energy that we are experiencing and the area of your life where you are experiencing these energy flows. So today would be a good idea to have your human design and your astrology chart handy as we go through talking about all of these different things. And if you have questions, of course, please feel free to ask. So we're going to deal with the astrology of it all first, and then I will go through the human design and gene keys aspect of all of these different changes. So that's why I say have both charts. You don't necessarily have to have your gene keys chart, but hey, if you have it, open it up or have it sitting out. All right, let's say good morning first to people who are showing up. Good morning, Friday. Good Friday, Terry says. Good morning to you. And it's good to have you with us. And Julie, good morning to you. And Tom, birthday boy Tom, I thought you would have joined us on Monday so that we could have wished you a happy birthday, but I didn't see you. And anyway, happy birthday. I hope you've had a great week. And Teddy Hickox, good morning to you, and good morning to Patty, who I know is also listening with you. And Joan Durchie, good morning. She says happy Friday to all. And for those of you who are not in the chat, good morning and welcome to the show. So let's start with Venus in Taurus. Here in this sign, she is coming home, and she's coming home to sensual delight. Taurus is a sign that delights in the senses, the five senses, right? Where everything is about the touch, the feel of something, the smell of something, the ability to hear and sense, right? It's very sense oriented energy. And she is the ruler of the sign of Taurus, so she has extra punch here. But I noticed something interesting this morning as I was going through um, the calendar of events, that she really, in this whole of the month, even though she's in her ruling sign, she only makes a couple of contacts with planets. And she's making contacts with Saturn and Pluto, and with Mercury and Jupiter. So just here in this first week, but then after that, we don't hear much about Venus for the rest of the month, which to me means that she's doing stuff in the underworld or she's doing stuff in the behind the scenes kind of areas of our lives. So, as we start with this today, Venus, this planet of love and beauty and money and pleasure, has left the fiery sign of Aries for the more sensual, earthy sign of Taurus. And this, of course, being her natural home where she finds her greatest strength and ease. Things move well for her in this particular sign. So we can expect, in terms of the things, the areas of our lives that Venus rules, to experience a shift from the more impulsive nature of fiery Aries to more of a grounded energy, a desire to ground in, to be comfortable, right? Energy for the time that she's in Taurus. It'll be a time for us to savor the good things in life, right? The things that we love, the environment that we're in, the nature around us, the sights and the smells and the tastes of everything that we live for, right? So, key themes for Venus while she's in Taurus are going to be about things like relationships, love, agriculture, the land or nature, if we want to put it in bigger terms, and as well the financial world. Right? She rules finances. And since Taurus is a sign that rules the economy and banking and debt and credit and all of those types of things, um, we can expect that we have financial things happening here too. But the first key theme is about grounding in sensuality. So you're invited when Venus is in Taurus to slow down and sort of relish the physical delights in your senses, right? So Venus in Taurus reminds us to move at a slower pace, to simplify, and be steady and patient and attuned to what feels good, right? This is a feel good sort of placement for Venus. And, the financial components of Venus in Taurus are interesting as well. I was, this is kind of off topic, but it's on topic. I was just listening to a video by one of my favorite mundane astrologers or world astrologers, and he was talking about a financial reset likely coming to us with the advent of the next solar eclipse. Now, interestingly enough, we start to feel the effects of a solar eclipse about 3 months before it happens. So we're looking at next week, June. June being the first like salvo in what will be the solar eclipse of September, which will be in late degrees of Virgo, which seems to suggest perhaps changes in the structures and forms, the system of finances, right? Where the systemic technicalities of the system come into view. So start thinking about what are you seeing in the news cycle about finances, starting, I'd even start now with Venus having moved into Taurus. We may start to hear those news stories now because we've shifted, right? We've come past the point, the halfway point of the solar eclipse that was in March, right? So we're halfway to the solar eclipse that will happen in Virgo in September. Okay. And usually at that point in time, we start to feel what's coming, right? So take a look. So with Venus in this earthy sign, financial security becomes a priority. And maybe we'll feel more confident in the potential that we have to manage our finances. Maybe we'll feel more inclined to invest our money into things that truly matter to us. Maybe we'll experiment in some way with other forms of finances, such as cryptocurrencies or CBDCs, the things that are instruments of the future, right? And keep note of that, right? Because it's not just me that thinks this, but there's a whole host of astrologers that believe that, at least here in the USA and possibly the world over the course of the next few years, we're all switching to digital currencies, whether we want to believe it or not, right? That cash will be a thing of the past. It'll be a digital currency kind of economy. So get ready now, right? There's a lot to be said for it, and there's a lot to be said that's not so good for it, and it could be what is the source of the next big revolution as Uranus next month moves into Gemini and creates that possibility of revolutionary energy coming to commerce, coming to how we trade with one another. So be prepared, right? As far as beauty is concerned, Venus rules our appreciation for art and for beauty. And there's a heightened awareness then of the aesthetics of things. How do things look? How does it make us feel? So, whether that's art or is it music or is it nature or the simple pleasures like a cup of coffee, right? That we're wanting more of that tangible feeling of goodness through what it is that we are engaged with. And because Venus also rules romance and love, relationships here in the sign of Taurus seek steadiness and reliability, right? Can we depend on one another? Can we feel safe and secure with those people that we are in relationship with? So instead of chasing new thrills and new exciting romantic things with like maybe what was happening with Venus and Aries, we're more drawn to what's been our base, our roots, right? The that has given us comfort and has been solid for us. Okay. Now, Venus in Taurus tips. How do we deal with this energy? Well, this anytime Venus is just important in terms of self-care. And with Venus and Taurus, it's time to really plan for taking care of yourself, pampering yourself. And, life is busy, it's hectic, and there are a lot of things that we need to have the energy to do. And you don't have that energy to do that if you don't take care of yourself first. So treat yourself to a massage, the tactile feeling of the massage. So Venus in Taurus. Eat good food, try new recipes, right? Try out foods in a new way that you haven't done before, or just simply relax out in nature, right? Put out your lawn chair on the beach or in your yard, in the forest, or along the rivers or lakes. Just enjoy Mother Nature. I'll tell you, Terry and I have really been enjoying watching the birds because they are so active right now. And there's a whole host of like new baby birds. They're young birds. They're not necessarily babies like little, but you can tell that they're young. Well, first of all, you can tell they're young because they have no fear of me, right? I walked right up to my water fountain the other day with a bucket of water to refill it, and they just sat there in the water while I poured new water in it for them. So the the simple pleasures of just being able to watch the birds bathing and drinking water and playing in the water is something so Venus in Taurus, right? Mother Nature. Cultivate gratitude. Taurus is a gratitude sign. Um, Cultivate the gratitude for things you already have. Venus and Taurus loves contentment and the simple joys of the present moment that you are in, right? With your friends or family in your comfortable chair, doing the things that you love to do. And if you're in a relationship, which most of us are in relationships of one kind or another, create space for cozy connection with your loved ones. Think about comfort and touch and hugs and, being, earthy with one another, being together in the natural world or, doing things that are just simple pleasures. And if you're considering financial investments or if you're looking at your finances at this time, consider the practical. Taurus is nothing but practical, right? It's earth, it's grounded, and it's about the sustainability and the lasting value of said finances, right? What can we put our money in that has lasting value? All right, those are important things to take a look at. Now, there are a couple of transits, as I said, about Venus. Um, on June 6th, today, she actually enters Taurus, which I told you she already had. In fact, I should be showing you the astrology chart. Let's do that real quick. Um, Boom, there we go. highlighted in pink up toward the top of the chart is Venus. And this was 6:55 this morning. I pulled this chart and she was at 0 degrees 23 minutes, it looks like. So she had already moved into Taurus sometime earlier in the day. So we're already living out the potential of this Venus in Taurus. And then on June 8th and 7th and 8th, or 8th and 9th, I guess it is really kind of crossing over depending on your time zone, Venus will square Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. So Pluto is over here at the sign of Aquarius to the upper right quadrant of the chart. I always forget you guys can't see my cursor moving around now. So we've got Pluto over in Aquarius, and they will be working well together. Remember, Pluto is a transformer, first off, but he's also a planet that empowers. So maybe empowering our Venus sensuality, our Venus practicality, our Venus and Taurus finances, things like that, transforming these particular things in our lives. And then on June 11th, and this will take us into the full moon, which by the way is also a very powerful full moon. And I'm not sure how I'm going to deliver that information to you all. I may actually come on air uh, I don't know. Things are so busy in my life right now because I really want to talk about the full moon because it's busy. It is its lowest declination of the year. And that makes this moon much more powerful because its declination is in a hot zone, if you will. And I'll find a way to get that information out to all of you guys. But on the 11th, she is also Venus sextile Saturn in Pisces, and that means she'll also sextile Neptune in. I'm not sorry, sextile. She'll be sextiling Saturn and Neptune, but in Aries. So it should be, or semi sextile. So kind of trying to make a cooperative effort between the flirty, fiery nature of Aries along with the earthy, practical nature of Taurus. So it should be sort of like our wanting to stabilize our commitments, right? Cooperating between the simplifying of our lives and the things that we have to do, right? The more complex things that maybe aren't so easily satisfied in a simple form, but also turning dreams into tangible realities. So she's kind of working in the manifesting realm while she's in Taurus as well. So she's bringing the potential for our us to dream into being the things that we are wanting to bring into our lives. So don't never underestimate the possibility that in Taurus or wherever Taurus is in your chart is where you can really be a manifesting genius, right? But it also depends on what it is you're focused on, right? Don't forget that part. If you're focused on the negative, then that is what is kind of amplified and being brought into being. But if you're focused clearly on what it is that you desire and your emotional self is also on board with that, and you're actually taking action toward a goal or a dream, the manifesting jumps up during this period of time. So Venus in Taurus kind of brings this welcome pause after the headstrong, fiery nature of the Aries transit of Venus. And she's teaching us that true wealth really is in the experience of what you love. It's not just in the chase for more. So it's not in that, kind of pace that we can pick up of buying and getting more and needing more and feeling like we need more. It's really in the experience of what we have and what we love. And the transit invites us to root into our values. This is values, self worth, self love territory. So, what is it that nourishes you? Honor that. Take the time to bring more of that into your life. Savor the present moment. Taurus, as an earth sign, operates in the present moment, in the now, right? In the now. So, questions, anybody about Venus in Taurus? Where is it in your chart? Right? Venus in my chart is in my 11th house, and That's where Taurus is in my chart. I have Venus natally in Taurus, and that is a house of community and humanitarianism, dreams, goals, hopes, and aspirations. So, where is yours? Let us know. Let's see here. Questions. Good morning, Asa. Good to have you with us. And let's see, we have Christine Buckingham. Good morning. Patty Hickok said pennies are gone. That's true, or supposedly going to be true. Kamal, good morning to you. It's nice to see you here. And Kamal says, Janet, I have lost my job for the last 2 months. Anything good coming to me? I feel like finished. You feel like you're finished. Oh my God, you are way too young for that, Kamal. Help me out, please. So, Kamal, I cannot remember. I think you were maybe a Leo. Is that where the sun is in your chart? Um, it's time probably for a reading to help you get direction. And Tom W says his Venus is in the ninth house, which is the house of growth and expansion in all things love and in the tactile simplicity, nature part of your life, right? So the simple things come from being expansive, right? Being able to see the bigger picture and maybe tapping into your philosophies, your beliefs, and how you see spirit. That is a house of spirit. Um, so, Kamal, I'm waiting for some information from you, and then I will take up maybe what I can help you with without looking at the chart specifically. In the meantime, let's go back to the chart and look at what's happening next. On Sunday, Mercury, the planet of communication, of the mind and thinking, and short distance travels, and think about Mercury in trade, right? Words like the mercantile and merchants all come from the planet Mercury, right? Mercury being tied to commerce and tied to the world of trade. And on Sunday, Mercury is going to not only um, make a move out of Gemini and into Cancer, but will also, before he makes that big move, conjunct Jupiter, who is at the 29th degree. Right here, you can see it on the left, the 9 o'clock position of this chart. That is where Jupiter's at the 29th degree. And right now, Mercury is just behind Jupiter at 25 degrees. So, Mercury, being the faster moving body, will come into conjunction on Sunday. And then, right after that, move into the next sign, followed by Jupiter moving into the next sign, Cancer, on Monday. So, we have this bunny hop thing going on with Mercury and Jupiter. Now, the conjunction of Mercury with Jupiter amplifies our ideas and our conversations and the learning potential. So, whatever it is that you're learning about right now, this may be a good day to, amplify that in some way. It is a sort of a cosmic green light. I wish I had Tam's go sign for expansive thinking here and inspired teaching and making big plans. So this is a day in the days around, the full moon, getting ready to, see things in their revelatory state for us to make some big plans, but have them grounded a la Venus in Taurus, have them grounded in the practical. What practical steps can you take? Now, watch out for over promising things. Mercury and Venus together can expand or exaggerate things. And what it would be exaggerating is information, right? It can be information overload that day. Gemini energy is curious and talkative energy, but it can also scatter our focus. So we could be very tempted with Jupiter because it's such a feel good moment. We may be very tempted to overpromise something, right? Overpromise our time, overpromise our resources, which time, of course, is one of your resources, but also, overpromising your money, things like that, right? So we have to be very careful. And then Mercury moves into Cancer. And after the mental buzz of Gemini, Mercury's entry into Cancer kind of shifts our thinking from that fast paced chatter, scattering our focus kind of energy to more of an emotional resonance with the words or with the conversation. So our conversations with Mercury in Cancer might deepen with feeling and emotion. And this will be a time when not only the thinking and logic is enhanced, but also your intuitive self, right? Your intuition, your instinctual awareness of emotional energy also speaks louder. And you're drawn more to, sharing personal stories or family matters and comforting type things while Mercury is in Cancer. So here's a tip for Mercury in Cancer, and this will go for Jupiter in Cancer as well. Listen to your heart. Your intuition is your greatest guide under Mercury in Cancer. And because your emotions are really linked to your heart, listen, pay attention to what it is that is coming up from within. And then on Monday, Jupiter's grand entrance into the sign of Cancer. We are going to dive deep into this on June 18th in the Jupiter into Cancer webinar. It's Jupiter in Cancer, expanding your heart's awareness. And we have an entire year from June 9th until next June to learn more about emotional intelligence, I would say. And, Jupiter in Cancer kind of expands our emotional landscape during the time that he is transiting through the sign. It links us to the very masculine planet Jupiter to the very feminine sign of Cancer, asking us to blend more of that left brain thinking with right brain thinking, right? To bring the emotions and logic more into resonance. And there's also a nurturing and protective vibe that starts to grow. And because it's not only Jupiter in Cancer, but Mercury as well, it's touching us both personally with Mercury and collectively with Jupiter, kind of forming this bridge for us to, maybe make the leap into a more compassionate, loving, nurturing, protective state of being over the next year as it relates to our world. Now, the big picture over the next year, Jupiter in Cancer is going to help us grow, but by rooting us into what feels safe and soul nurturing. And I want to look at safety here because, Taurus is another sign about safety and security. And it's a little different. Taurus finds safety and security in the tangible, what I can feel, sense, touch, right? That it's here in this moment. Cancer's sense of security is more about how am I set up for the future, right? Do I have enough food in my freezer, for example? Do I have an income coming in that's going to keep me, able to pay my bills for the, foreseeable future? Is there a sense that I'm stable and secure, but not just here in this moment, but as time goes on? So, Jupiter in Cancer might be a time when we're expanding our home, moving. Of course, I'm moving right as Jupiter and Mercury are in Cancer. Family connections. How are you together with your family members and your sense of belonging in that family or in that group, right? Family doesn't have to be all just blood. It can be, the people that you choose to resonate with and who resonate with you. So watch out for, this time period being one about emotional growth. And it's kind of about letting your feelings teach you about where you're ready to grow. This is a tricky one because, so far in our evolution as humans, we look at feelings in a more reactive sort of way, right? You say something, you do something, and I get triggered, right? And I respond. I see a show on TV and it triggers this response within me, right? Either anger, upset, or maybe I'm crying because it's sad, or maybe I'm crying because it's happy, right? Our our emotions thus far in our human experience has really been about our reactions to the outside world, or sometimes even the reactions to our own thoughts, or our own things that have been happening in our lives. But we're moving beyond just that kind of thing, right? Where we have this reactionary response to our emotions. We're moving toward emotional intelligence, which takes us into the realm of responding to the emotional energy, the input. And from that place of response, we get to choose consciously, I might add, what it is that we're going to say or do or how we are going to react to anything that's going on. So it'll be an interesting time, I think, for us because it's falling in this period of time just before the human design evolution leap that takes us into more resonance with that emotional center, where emotions begin to be more of a guide that tells us what it is that's correct for us or not, where the resonance with this feels good, this does not feel good, is more about how we move forward in our lives. So it'll be an interesting time, and you can expect there's going to be emotional, overblown things, right? That people responding emotionally over the top. And also having to learn how to monitor those emotions, to tune in to what it is that you're actually feeling, and then use what you're feeling as a guide to your next steps. All right. I hope all of this is making sense because this is a big leap that we take at this period of time. I don't know that it happens overnight. I really don't, but it will become very much obvious to us that we need to learn how to be more emotionally intelligent. And that begins today, right? Starting Sunday when Mercury moves into Cancer. And then Jupiter follows him into Cancer. And then that whole year of Jupiter in Cancer, followed by the human design evolutionary leap in 2027, that takes us into that new territory. All right. So when Mercury enters Cancer, the challenge might start to be made. We are kind of becoming aware of the square from Cancer to Aries. So when Jupiter and Mercury are in those early degrees of Cancer, it puts them in a square to Saturn and Neptune in their conjunction in Aries, because just geometrically, those signs are in 90-degree relationships with one another. So the challenge might be about feeling torn between emotional safety, what feels good, and the push for independence, going my own way, doing my own thing. You might feel kind of like your thoughts and feelings aren't in sync with the tough love lessons of Saturn, right? Saturn, real world, emotions hard to pin down. So be patient during this first few days of Mercury and Jupiter in the sign of Cancer. Don't let self doubt come in and ruin your forward momentum. Don't let old fears weigh you down. This is just, there's no need for this. Let your intuition really help you navigate where it is that you want to go. And then Venus in Taurus is also going to be squaring Pluto in Aquarius at the same time. So we have these, squares that are building up on, they are all actually activated on the 9th, which is Monday. But that doesn't mean anything really because they're already building up to the squares right this minute. So the challenges are already, coming up to us. And, with Venus and Taurus squaring Pluto, there's this intensity in relationships and in our money. And power struggles or maybe deep desires come to the surface. So the square itself can be magnetic and can be transformative if you're willing to face the truth of whatever it is that Pluto's bringing up to your face about Venus issues like relationships and finances and self-worth and security and uh, your values and your value, right? So all of that coming up. So let go of controlling what isn't yours to control. Focus on what truly feeds your soul, right? Don't let other things come at you and cause you to come off of your path, right? Stay on your path. And then Mercury in Cancer also squaring Neptune and Saturn. Um, this can be dreamy and sort of confusing energy. Mercury rules the rational mind, right? And the rational mind is being challenged by the dreamy nature of Neptune, by the fire of spirit that Neptune is beginning to embody in the sign of Aries. So conversations, during this time could be emotionally charged and even unclear, right? Where it's like we're mumbling to one another about things. We're not sure what to say, but on the other hand, the other person is not sure what they're getting from you either. So we have a push here to be very clear about what it is we're sharing or about our words. Be mindful of miscommunication because it's a very big deal during this time, possibly. And don't assume. Never assume anyway, but especially now, never assume that you completely understand what someone means, right? You might have to clarify. You might have to say, let me reframe this to you, or let me, come back and tell you, is this what I understand that you're saying? Because things can get miscommunicated. So slow down during this period of time, ground your insights in real feelings. And, while we still have some, heavy planetary energy in Aries, a sign that is about go, 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 we also have inner planets now and Jupiter that are in signs that are a little slower, right? So here we want to make sure our insights are real and that they're in you're grounding them in real feelings and real not illusions but into the real world. And it can be difficult when you have Neptune involved in any of that. So the big picture of Sunday Monday's energy is really about Mercury and Jupiter. They light up possibilities together, right? They stimulate the mind and the emotions, right? The mind and the emotions. So possibilities kind of spark within us. And it can become a mental feast, right? Of ideas and possibilities. And what do we want to do? How do we want to do it? Do we want to do it? Mercury's move into Cancer asks you to feel what you say. That really truth comes from the heart now. And Jupiter, in some ways, is also bringing that up. Jupiter, beginning his 1 year long transit in the sign of Cancer, is a long cycle of emotional and spiritual expansion, but it's rooted in home. It's rooted in belonging and caring, being secure, having a foundation that is something that is stabilized while you go out and explore the world or journey through your life, right? And then the challenging squares that come up Monday and Tuesday really remind us to find balance, and the balance between logic and feeling, perhaps, or between comfort and growth, right? You can't stay in your comfort zone because that's not growth, and between the urge to control and the art of surrender, which is somewhat difficult for people, right? We like to control. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and tell me, how are you guys feeling out there? Christine says, Kamal, wishing and hoping you find a better job very soon. Yeah, Kamal, I didn't see your answer back. Nope, I don't see. Yeah, it's time for you to have a reading, I think, or even, just to chat with me about what's happening. Julie says, hang in there, Kamal. My late granny used to say, when we get things taken from us, it's because something better is coming our way. Absolutely. Jacqueline Tyler, good to see you out there this morning. Happy Friday, she says, from me and her new kitten, Calypso. I love that name. And that is a really cool kitty name. I agree, Julie. All right. So let's switch now over to human design. And nope, that's the wrong chart. Da, 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 da. There we go. That's the one I want. And let's take a look at the same things, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter, and the Sun and Earth also, for the weekend ahead. So on June 8th, the Sun and the Earth will move from the gates 35 and 5 into the gates 45 and 26. So The sun is going to be in the gate 45, and the gate 45 sits here on the throat center. Remember when we talked about all the gates of Gemini and the gates of Gemini being mostly on the throat center, right? So here we have another throat center gate, which means it's energy of communication, but also manifesting, right? It's pushing out of us, coming up from the lower reaches of the human design chart and out through the throat center, also down from the heads and head and ajna centers and out through the throat center. And the gate 45 in quantum human design is called the gate of distribution. And it is literally a gate of distribution of resources, sharing resources and leading with generosity. And in its highest expression, this particular gate moves from personal power or domination in the lower expression of the gene keys to community empowerment, which is in Richard Rudd's words, synergy, right? Where together we energize, right? Together energy. And then moving ultimately to communion energy in the highest expression of the gene keys, which is a harmonious sharing in service to the whole, right? Where we are all sharing in the bounty of this particular energy. Now, this week, consider how you can be a wise steward of your own resources and resources, whether it's time or knowledge or finances, right? All of your resources, your energy, right? Are you leading from fear or control, or do you trust in collaboration with others? This is a very collaborative kind of energy. Now, the Earth is interesting in this because when the sun is in the gate 45, the Earth is in the gate 26. And the gate 26 is called integrity. So now we're aligning with truth, right? Our will, our actions, our voices are all needing to become aligned with truth. And it's about refining your message, whatever that is, and to whomever it is, so that it's not manipulative or prideful, but it's rooted in integrity and in quiet power. So the two of these together really are about staying true to yourself. Like, notice where you might be selling yourself short or giving yourself away or overcompensating in some way. Integrity is kind of magnetic energy. It doesn't really need to shout. It's you being you, right? It's you living from your center space, from your center. At the same time, all of this other changes, Venus and Mercury and Jupiter, let's take a look at the gates that they're sitting in. So Venus enters Taurus into the gate 3. It's actually been sitting in the gate 3 because 3 kind of envelops the end of Aries energy and the beginning of Taurus energy. And the gate is called innovation. So you already know this is an energy that's future focused, right? That's looking ahead. And the gene key, lower energy of this gate is chaos. And chaos because anytime we start something new, notice anytime you've made a decision, a new, like, I'm going to step forward and I'm going to do this new thing, what happens, right? Chaos envelops, right? Starts kind of taking over your life for a bit. And then it leads to innovation. And then ultimately, it leads to innocence in the highest expression of the gene keys. So the essence of the gate 3 and Venus sitting at the gate 3, which by the way sits on the sacral center down here, second center up from the bottom, is about finding order in chaos. And Venus here brings a creative spark to what you love and what you value, and maybe even, helps you to see, pull out of that chaos what is most meaningful for you, right? What is most in your mind, most important. So embrace fresh ways of expressing beauty and sensuality here. Let your love life and your finances be inspired by innovation, not stuck in old patterns. Do something new, right? If you're someone who never has brought your wife flowers, it's time to do that, right? It's time to take care of yourself, even. Maybe you've never bought yourself flowers. It's time to do that, right? Setting a step forward innovatively. Now, Mercury and Jupiter They are both entering into Cancer, ending their Gemini transit, and starting their Cancer transit in the gate 15, which is on the diamond center, the identity center, right central to the human design chart, which we often say is the seat of the soul. And the essence of the gate 15 teaches us to honor all the rhythms of life from the extremes to the calm. And also, it's the key to compassion, where holding space for the entire range of human experiences for ourselves, but also for others, right? It's the bond of human compassion. Now, Mercury in this gate 15 means to have us let our words touch something soft and inclusive within us and reach those words out to others, weaving in sort of the full spectrum of your emotional intelligence, right? Being soft and caring and compassionate and tolerant and accepting and inclusive in your language, right? Jupiter here at the gate 15. Jupiter will be at the 15 until I think it was the end of this month when he moves into 52. Yeah, so Jupiter is here from June 2nd all the way through the 26th. On the 27th, he'll move into the new gate. But Jupiter here this is the journey that begins of expanding our compassion, right? Starting here in this gate. It's about honoring your own self and honoring others' unique rhythms and experiences and life journey and creating harmony in the midst of chaos, right? The midst of all of these changing planets. So the big energies, the big themes as we roll out of this week and into the next week are about synergy and compassion. The sun in the gate 45 and Mercury and Jupiter in the gate 15 really highlight this powerful dance, sharing your light generously with others while staying rooted in compassion and taking care of your own self. So, nurturing your own self so that you have the energy and the time and the resources to help others. So, it's a time for building bridges, not walls, right? 15 energy is very powerful this way. It is a theme. There's a theme around integrity and innovation as well. The Earth in the gate 26, reminding us that your word and actions matter, right? Those things that you put out, the things that you say are important. And then Venus in the gate 3, down here in the sacral center, offers a fresh burst of creativity and creative energy that can become something new, right? Finding new ways to live your truth without compromising your authenticity. That would be a great message for us to take away from Venus in Taurus and Venus in the gate 3. And then there's also emotional depth and this softer side with Mercury and Jupiter both moving into Cancer. There's a more open, intuitive heart and maybe heart centered conversations, right, that are very open from the heart, sharing. Right. So feelings matter now. Your feelings and other people's feelings matter. So let them guide your decisions, right? You guys that are emotionally defined in your human design know this energy, right? Because you're emotionally broadcasting all the time. But for those of you who have an open emotional center, meaning it would be white like it is here, on the lower right side of this chart is an open solar plexus or emotional center. And if you have an open emotional center, you're taking in emotions from everyone around you, right? From the bigger, wider world. And you're never quite sure whose feelings you're feeling. And now, with emotional energy being very focused in and dialed in for the next year, learning about your world and how to work with emotional energy becomes very important, right? Okay. Questions about human design, questions about your human design. Hi, Kiki. It's good to see you out there. And all right. So I'll wait for a moment for your questions. In the meantime, let me give you some reflective questions to chew on for the weekend. Where in your life do you feel called to distribute your resources, but doing so with more trust and generosity? Where do you feel the need to be more generous? Where do you need to be less generous? Is another a corollary to that, right? Where is it that you've maybe been hemorrhaging resources or time or your energy and need to pull it back so that you have enough for the things that are here for you to do? Then, how can you embody more integrity in your words and your actions this week? The word integrity has a lot of different meanings, I think, to different people. I always think of integrity as being within your own skin, being within your own truth and acting and talking from that space rather than trying to be something for someone else, right? You know, um, in a way, what that does is dims your light and kind of weakens your willpower because the 26 actually sits on the ego will center, heart center in human design. So integrity really is that call to align with your true self, right? Being authentic. And in a mundane sort of sense, the gate 26 is the closer of a sale, right? This is this in if we step back and we look at it in a wider view, like the camera view gets very wide, this is kind of the energy of where the sale comes to a close because the salesperson is either, telling you the truth or they've lied to you. So it can become exposed here. The untruths can become exposed as you drive away in that car and it breaks down on the road on the way home. But the salesman told you it was perfect, right? um, but also watching the things that you are engaged with. How are you in your integrity or out of your integrity? And by the way, this isn't moralistic energy either. This is not, doing things because society dictates it to you or your religion dictates it to you or your family dictates it. It is about being true to yourself, right? Doing what you desire and being who you want to be. Maybe that's more important than the doing. It's the being who it is that you want to be, what really resonates with your truth. And then, last question, are you ready to innovate in your relationships, in your finances, in your creative world? What are you ready to innovate, to think outside of the box, to do things differently, right? That is a great question because some of us are ready and others are not, right? Sometimes even I'm holding back. And how can you hold compassion for the full range of human experiences, including your own highs and your own lows, right? Because that we, as humans, we experience this whole gamut of emotional energy, of the energy of compassion, people experiencing the highs and lows of their lives, right? Even here, just in this show, we might think that Kamal is experiencing a low right now, right? As he's not worked for 2 months or hasn't had a job for 2 months. It's the compassion within each of us that we can hold space for understanding of that situation and the hope and the love that we can pour out that Kamal finds something that will feel good to him in terms of work. And we extend that all the time into the world when there are calamities and the big things, a tornado devastating a town, something, that happens, a flood that carries away people's homes. We have compassion, right? This just reminds us to have compassion all the time, right? We don't have to just only have compassion in the time of, catastrophes. We can have compassion for one another all the time, as well as having compassion for ourselves all the time, right? Okay. Let's remove that. Okay, I don't see any questions out there. In the meantime, let's draw a card or two for the weekend. And again, remembering I will not be here on Monday. I will find some way to get the full moon information out to you, um, probably via email. And um, let me know if you have any questions about that type of thing. So let's see what kind of cards I want. I I upended my whole box of cards. So now some that I haven't used in a while are up on top. So let me dig through here for a moment and see. Ah, this note was brought to me earlier. There's that deck. And no, it is not that deck. It is this one that I just put over here. Okay. So the two decks wanting to be brought out today are the Starseed Oracle by Rebecca Campbell. And I love this one because it opens up it's very unique. And the other deck was Messages from Heaven, communication cards. And I kept wanting to, I was telling this deck, no, I didn't want this, but it just kept kind of showing me that it needed to be heard today. All right, so let's start with the Starseed Oracle and see what our star friends might say here. So no questions this morning, huh? This is a very light morning. I only see 8 people out there listening. So I wonder, where's everybody this weekend? Is everybody already headed out? The card I just drew is called Star Family. How appropriate for Jupiter and Mercury, both in Cancer. You're part of a team of souls. Call in support, it says. That's a beautiful card. Very starbursty. And it is Star Family. And here's what it says. At some stage, we were each a part of a soul cluster, a gathering of souls who broke away from one another to experience themselves individually. Those who are part of your soul cluster are part of your star family. Your star family are those souls who are cut from a similar cosmic cloth. You haven't just experienced lifetimes together, your souls were once actually one. It's very common for star family members to incarnate at similar times to work with anchoring a similar frequency of light and to cross paths with each other. You know that someone is part of your star family when you feel like you know and remember them from the moment you meet. They feel instantly familiar and comfortable. Time both passes quickly and stretches when you're with them. You feel more yourself with them than with anyone else. It can sometimes feel like looking in the mirror because, in a way, you are. I love it. Often you'll go out of your way to help those in your star family, instinctively knowing it's part of your path. When a star family member dies, you feel it very deeply, regardless of how long you knew them. A certain soul mourning or soul breaking occurs. Think about the people in your life. Who do you feel is a part of your star family? If this card comes up in a spread, it's likely that you've met someone who is part of your star family or you're about to. Hmm. Starseed soul inquiry here is, who do you think is from the same star family as you? How can you call upon them for support? I love it. So, star family. And I'll tell you guys, um, in galactic astrology, what I found very fascinating is the connection through those star clusters or constellations of stars that we see and how we're connected. When I did this, I immediately pulled all the star charts for my entire family and even family members who were married into the family or were very tight friends with the family. We had similar star connections or soul origins, which is fascinating to see. And so I really believe that, we were all cut from this, star family, and we came to Earth to do something individually, but we're still part of a bigger, wider family. All right, let's do messages from heaven. Interesting. Okay, messages from heaven. This is a deck from Jackie Newcomb, and it says Love and Guidance from the Other Side of Life. That's the subtitle of this deck. And it's funny because this deck ended up on the bottom of my basket of oracle cards. So it ended up on the top. And here's our message. Take control of the situation. We know you can do this. Looks like a steering wheel for a boat, right? And let's see what this card is about. Take control. Is there a card number on this? Number 3. Ooh, interesting. 3. Gate 3. So here's what it says. Stay strong. Inside, you have everything you need to make it happen. The skills are already yours. Your loved ones are saying, stand your ground. You can handle this. We are here to help you. Very short message. Pretty powerful message, though. Take control of the situation. We know you can do this. All right, guys. That is it for me today. Remember, Monday I will not be here. But I will indeed get the full moon information out to you. Don't forget, you can join the Living Astrology membership and get access to more in-depth information after each one of the broadcasts I do. But as well, for instance, yesterday I taught a class on Chiron, the healing path, and if you were in the membership, you were there. If you were not, then it is not available to you. So consider joining the membership. You get free 30 days, and then it's only $22 a month after that. All right, guys, that's it for me today. Thank you so much. Take care. See you next Friday. Bye for now.